Good. It was nice to get through on the Open Cup. It's nice to get a call in our way, our favor with the red card. So I think overall we were able to manage the game in the best way possible to set us up for hopefully some success here on the weekend. But it's a chance for us to go on the road again, where we have not performed very well, let's be honest, and kind of have some tough conversations about how to go about a game on the road in this league and have some success. It hasn't been. I don't think the results have been fair in some ways, but that's what a coach says when they lose 6-2 on the road. It's we got to do better from the start of the game and also see out some of the chances when we do get good looks like we have on the road. And again, just be a little bit better. We can't give these teams on the road this many good opportunities.
Start with Joey. Go ahead.
Hey Ben, I wanted to ask you a bit about the goalkeepers this season. How would you evaluate Jonathan Bond's starts of the season? I know he didn't have the greatest game against Colorado this last week. Some of the numbers haven't been super kind to him, but how would you evaluate his start? And then as well with Dynamo 2, Pedro Cruz has done a really great start to the season. At what point does he start putting some pressure on the first team?
Well, Pedro isn't the one putting pressure on Jonathan Bond. First of all, that will be Jonathan Bond will put pressure on Jonathan Bond first and foremost. He's a competitor, and he's going to want some of this stuff back, but he's not the only one. So the coach wants some things back. Some of the attackers that have had chances to make his life easier that have missed want some opportunities back. And, sometimes I think the goalkeeper gets, especially when you put in 6 or the goals start racking up, over the last 2 games or 3 games. Sometimes I think it's easy to scapegoat the guy with the gloves on. But could he be done better? Sure. Yeah. But Jimmy did a good job coming in, as Jimmy does when he's been called on in the past here. Blake, I think, is doing a fantastic job. We have a very good stable of goalkeepers. And you mentioned Pedro. Pedro's real. And Pedro may at some point, get the nod with this club. When that comes, I don't know. But again, there's a few guys that have something to say about that before he gets his bite.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Herman, go ahead. Oh.
Hey, Ben. Just wanted to ask you about Orlando City, and their defense uncharacteristically has been subpar here lately. How can you take advantage of that this weekend?
We'll just take advantage of the opportunities that we're given, but you have to earn those. We've our road form is interesting because we gave up in the 2 games quite a few goals. But offensively, we've also our chance creation has been incredible for being on the road. Those games were kind of toe to toe, and on any given day we could have put in 4 and they could have had 3. Some of our chances were better than some of theirs, and but that's hiding behind data, and so we continue to be dangerous going forward and creating chances, and the data would say our defensive stuff is we're not giving up a lot of chances. The ones we're giving up are killing us. And so we got to, just find the balance within that. But I forgot your question. I was just going on a tangent.
That's perfect. And just to add on to it, finding that balance, I'm watching that left flank this weekend, especially in Ali with Dorsey, not because of what it means, but just the attacking player that Dorsey can be when he comes forward. How do you prepare Nali or even Guillermo to help support him on the left, given that right side?
Well, Griffin is similar to what we see week in, week out. An athletic guy that can run up and down and has good legs and likes to get in behind and serve balls and create havoc. So, that's. Yeah, we're used to that. And that's what we saw in Colorado. We see that, not so much in Seattle, but a lot of these teams with guys that are really aggressive flying up and down the wing, it's, we're used to that, and I don't think we're going to tweak too much to deal with him, but we certainly have a lot of respect for him. Again, we've got a lot of love for him, and we understand what he can do.
For sure. And my last one, Coach, is, just updates on a couple players, Jack, Lucas Halters, Bianchenko, and I've seen Arthur this week in the locker room, so it's good to see him back with the team. Any updates?
Yeah, I'll give you one on Artie. Artie has looked good, and it just hasn't been a long time where he's back training, but it's been a real nice. We've had a few guys out and are key pieces, right? Everybody has people out, but sometimes when they're your captain and whether it's Lucas or in particular Artie in this instance, it helps. When someone comes back in this moment in time that you can rely on and has a voice and has a familiarity with this place and has a history of winning here. It's important. It's important for the coach. It's important for the player. So it's been nice to have him back in training, and we'll see how he got through today and figure out what his minutes look like for the rest of the week, including potentially Orlando. So that's all part of it. Lucas is obviously a ways away. Jack's day to day. We're still trying to figure out how to. His is a little trickier, and we're day to day on him, but I anticipate him coming back very soon.
Thanks, Coach. Safe travels and good luck.
All right, thank you.
We'll go to Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Coach, good afternoon or morning, technically. First of all, can you hear me? You don't have to see me, but I hope you can hear me. Good day, Coach. How are you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? And can you hear me sipping my water? My assistant coach told me, hey, stop sipping your water during the press conference because everybody can hear you gulping. So he's the only friend I have because none of you have said that. So I'm scolding you guys for not saying that. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry, man.
We don't want to call you out, Coach. It's great to see you. The word pressure, it's something you in the past and I have discussed, and you discussed it as it being a privilege. Are you sensing pressure in the season with all the talent you have and the results not coming? Is that creeping in at all, or you've got your mindset on what your mission is here in 2026?
I'm optimistic of where this is going. I'm very optimistic on where this is going. But pressure is real. It should be for me and certainly the players and the coaching staff, no doubt. Losses are emotional, these times, but it's also a time to respond and see what we're made of, and that's all part of this kind of process. And coming off of, a poor year, yeah, that starts to add. But again, this is a new team, and everybody has different baggages, and I think this group is in a good place. I think they do see light at the end of the tunnel. And they understand there has been some ups and downs, and it hasn't all gone our way, but there's been more good performances than bad. The sour taste of certainly the Dallas and Colorado games sometimes override all the good that has been going on with the home games and the home performance. I think everybody walks away from all the home performances saying that this team's going in the right direction. And so we got to fix some of this road form, and that's the opportunity in front of us.
Coach, you've been around enough locker rooms as a player, at different levels as a coach. How do you sense your locker room, that they are ready? I sensed a couple of comments that weren't just, hey, we're talking. This really felt tough in the last couple of games. Not U.S. Open, of course, that was a good win, but they're taking it to heart. I sense that many of the players are very hurt by where they are today, and that maybe will show character here soon.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. That's why we play the season. And again, it's not 6-7 games long. This is a marathon. In particular, this season is essentially 2 seasons. So nobody wants to hear it. I don't want to say it, but we're still tinkering with this group and finding out our best structure, best lineups. We want to be flexible. We want to have some flexibility in how we can play. We've seen the 5. We've jumped into the 4. We've done this in different ways. So it's been a challenging start, no doubt. But it's one that I am again, this time last year when we had a challenging start, I'll put it this way, the optimism is completely different in the way when I look into that locker room and see the personalities and the talent that we can potentially have when everybody comes back and we put this puzzle together going forward over the long haul here. But in the short term, we're going to have to respond and have a little resiliency and find the best version of ourselves. And that's what we've had some honest discussions about. I don't worry about the culture and the team. They have. I think you smelled it. They're disappointed, and the expectations are not that we're in this situation right now. But it's also still early, and all the cliches you want to hear from a coach.
Coach, one more quick one, and thank you for that. That gives, I think, many of us perspective. Matteo Di Merelli, local player, just recently signed. This is becoming more of a trend, and for many Houston clubs, for Houston youth culture, they dream one day to be playing on that first team. Is this a conscious effort to recruit more within the city, or the talent is just being identified?
Well, I think it's a credit to Pat and Asher and the academy directors, and when they came in here, there was a lot of things laid down that no one sees, and you don't just develop kids overnight. It was a reboot, and that reboot in particular academy, and sometimes, in a first team situation and the second team, it takes time to see fruit of this, right? And the academy takes a little bit longer because they have the luxury to do that and build the bricks. First team is like, we got to go. There's pressure, and you got to win, and you got to move. So that has to speed up. But some of that takes some time to develop and nurture these kids. And I think they've done a really good job of getting good people in from the beginning. And there's been a renewed sense of collaboration and academy to the second team to the first team. That collaboration has been great since I got here, and you're starting to see some of the good of that. Now the next stage of this is, you saw it with Brooklyn, is they got to get on the first team field, and that's the next challenge. I know there's been criticism about that, but that's also on players, and they got to continue to develop and show that they're ready to be put on the first team field, because there's real pressure still on the first team to get results. And but I have no problem playing these young kids. My past will tell you that. And so I look forward to continuing to see their development and Matthew. And if they're not with us in the 20 for the first team, they're going to be with that D2 team, which we trust and is a really good team. Get out and watch them and support them, because it's a fun group and they're having a lot of success.
Coach, thank you.
Yep.
You can go on to sipping between questions.
No, I'm done. I'm going to die of thirst up here.
Just stay hydrated.
Good luck, Coach. Thank you, sir.
All right, Dustin, go ahead.
Hey, man. Sorry we didn't tell you about your sipping. But,
It's all right.
I just wanted to ask you about the midfield. We've seen Samaseko, Buzad in there with Jack and Archer out. Hector got the start in the Open Cup. What have you seen from the midfielders this year in the different profiles they bring?
They're all different. Hector's different than Jack, and Giagi's different than Buzat, and Buzat's different than Hector. So they all have these, and that's, you see the revolving door for a reason. We're still grabbing the right balance. Giagi is a true holding and someone that can protect center backs a little bit more than the others, the traditional eights, if you want to kind of pigeonhole them, the rest of them. With Artie out, but Artie comes back in now, so now there's another guy to put into this equation. So we're still figuring it out, but I think Giagi's done really well. Hector's starting to get into rhythm. Hector's a guy that needs to play to get into fitness and also sharpness. And Buzat offers something different, more of a mobile, more of a higher up presence, good at repressing, and then Jack does what Jack does, and he's a guy that can split lines, great range of passing. And so it's really finding about the best partnership right now for the group around us, and then also with availability, sometimes you're just mixing up guys depending on the game.
Thanks, man.
All right, Selvin, go ahead.
Orlando has been inconsistent but dangerous at home. What are the key threats you identify from them?
The team speed, willingness to run in behind. They've got central midfielders that are close to each other, and good at breaking down, passive pressure. A stable forwards, again, that are combative and willing to get behind. A lot of service. They are, they're a nice balance of athleticism and soccer. I like them. I think they're have had a choppy season like we have, and it's certainly a dangerous team, and playing there is never easy.
All right, we'll go to Jesus.
Hey, Ben. What did you say about the sipping? Because depending how big your gulps were, we could tell what your sort of mindset was in.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little bit pissed at you in particular, Jesus. I thought we were closer than this, and I expected out of all these guys that you would have said something.
I figured. Coach, you've been talking a lot about tinkering, not just this season, but last season. But as it relates to this season, have you guys looked at the goal creeping position, especially with Jimmy having a good game? Or do you guys like what you're getting from Bond?
It's just that's a question that was just asked five questions ago. Were you listening?
Hey, joined in late.
Yeah, you did. Well, we went over that. So you grab another question and rewatch the press conference.
Okay. Well, as it comes to tinkering with that question still, you said you've gone to the 5, to the 4. As far as formation-wise, as far as the personnel on the field, are you guys thinking about making changes?
Always. We're always, this is what we do. We evaluate, and sometimes over-evaluate, and sometimes under-evaluate. This is what we do. This is what we spend a lot of time on before trainings, and from Saturday to Saturday, and 3 in the morning. This is what we do. All we do is think about whether or not we need to make changes, and how we work at our best. And again, sometimes we get that wrong. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes it takes a little bit it takes a while to come to these realizations in a season when there's a 6-7 new starters, and some of those aren't even in. And I hate to say that, but this is where we're at. And so we're going to continue. We're going to. There's another weekend to find out what we are. But within all that blah blah blah, we got to make some plays, and we got to stay in the game on the road in the first 20 minutes. We can't go down 2-0. It's not a good recipe, and that's not always up to profiles and personality or profiles. It's sometimes up to personality and mentality. And so that part's the other side of this. And I say this all the time, until you know exactly who you are and how you're figuring it out, what type of character and personality. And I believe we have personality in here. But we got to draw on that in this moment.
Got it. And then my final question, you talked about how in the game against El Paso, you guys had a slow start, finished well. But what is it that constitutes these slow starts for these teams that happen at Colorado and then here at home on Wednesday? And I'm sure it's a simple question for me to ask, but it's maybe tough for you to answer because...
Well, no, it's not. I don't think it's tough to answer because we scored in 3 minutes. Right? So it was a good start. I'll take a 1-0 goal, in the first 5 minutes of the game. And we got in behind and got a red card against them, right? So there was a good start initially, and it's not been every games. I know. I think you guys. It's hard to separate kind of what the first portion of the home games and our away form. In our away form, that is the case. The starts have been really, really poor, and it's put us behind, and we've had to fight back, and we almost did. So, but it's a problem, and we've addressed it. There's different ways to go about that, and we've had those tough conversations. So we're working on that. And then we get out of halftime, and we have another good start. So, but yeah, we've talked about it. I don't know. I think that game was 1-0 early. I think we got the red card, and I think our mentality just said, okay, this is going to be easy now. And that's where I put to that game if you really want to get into the El Paso game. And we tuned them up a little bit at halftime. We brought in some energy, some of the, and I think that changed instantly in the second half was a lot better. But you're right. That's unacceptable in itself, and put the game away and be better once you're up a man and 1-0.